Good morning, everybody. We have had a real busy week last week. Now we're starting a new week. Been renting this tractor, and I just took the duals off today. It had duals on it. We use it for disking and seeding the spring a little bit, and we'd like to get it on the mower. So that's a 2090 case. Considering maybe purchasing it, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We're renting it at this point. And this is our mower, 1360 John Deere disc bind. I'd like to get a new skirt on here sometime. They just kind of get beat up over time. It's probably mowed a lot of acres. It came beat up, and then of course it just gets worse over time. So it's been a good mow. I forget now. I think it's 11 foot at a time. It's got impeller conditioners on it in the back here. I don't know if you can see those little chunks of metal. Look like little V's hanging there. That spins around real fast. So as the material gets mowed, that spins around and whacks it. The idea is that it creates cracks basically in the long stems to help it to dry out. So this connects on the 3-point linkage. One goes on each side on the arms, and then there's a top link. Of course, you got a PTO shaft that makes it all run. PTO is for power takeoff on the back of the tractor. You can see that there's the shaft for the PTO, and here's my two arms for the links, and then the top link goes in there. Now this tractor doesn't have a top link, so we're hoping to use one of our other ones. I don't know yet if this will actually even work. It seems like these two arms are too far apart, and this prevents them from coming in any farther. So we're just going to try it now. If it works, great. If not, then we'll have to hook it up to our other tractor. Update! Looks like it fits. Just. You can see this is right tight against here, and there's a wee bit of play in between there. So I actually like that, because there's nothing worse than the mower swinging back and forth. If it has too much play, it'll swing back and forth. The other tractors that I have another bar that comes from here up to the axle, and it keeps this guy from swinging. But in this case I don't need that, because I got these spacer blocks on both sides that should keep it from going around. So that part's good. I gotta check the oil yet. I got a leak in this gearbox. I'm waiting for a seal to come, or sorry, those two gearboxes on top of each other here. So the PTO shaft goes in the bottom gearbox and shoves up, and then it goes all the way down to the back. And so the bottom seal of this guy is leaking a little bit of oil. So we'll check it before we go. And we got to try to find a top link. So we're going to grab one from one of the other tractors. Probably have to change that pin size, hook that up. And then the hydraulics here are a pain, but there is hoses here. We'll try to get those hooked up too. Okay, ran into some problems. So there's not enough room for the PTO shaft. It looks good here. This will slide in and out of there. But when we lift it up, it's right tight. And that's going to wreck either the seals here, or in the tractor, it's going to wreck something. So there's the other holes. When I bought this disc bind, this pin was in that hole, but it doesn't work for my other tractor. And it's determined by the length of these arms. So it's got really short arms on here, whereas my tractor's got long arms. And so I needed to move it back because the PTO shaft was too short for my other tractor. And in this case, we're going to move it over here again, because these arms are shorter, and that makes the PTO shaft too long. Fun. So we'll switch those up a minute. That's pretty easy to do. There's just a nut on the back. We'll thread it off, move it to the other hole, put it back in. It's just kind of annoying, because then I go back to the other tractor, I'll have to move it again. But anyway, such is life. Okay, we got her figured out, moved it over. You can see now that it's up in place, we got lots of room, whereas before that was totally tight. Now we don't have the proper top link. This will work, but it's a little bit smaller than I like. So the only risk that we're running is we may end up wrecking these threads, because it may be just a bit too much pull on it. I don't know, we'll hope for the best. It's on there. I just tried it, sounds good. The hoses are backwards, we're gonna change that. What Wes is doing here right now is, so inside there's a flap. By pulling that handle that way, it lifts that flap. So there's a flap inside. When the feed gets cut, the feed goes through and it hits that flap and it flops straight down. Basically it makes it a really wide a very wide windrow and allows it to dry out faster. In this case, I'm going to make wet bales now and wrap them with the wrapper, so I don't need them to dry out. We're going to lift that up all the way, and it'll hit the back here. It's going to hit these back fins inside, so there's a plate on each side. They can be adjusted for wider or less wide, so I've got them set narrow right now, pointing in, and that'll make for a smaller windrow. The other thing we want to do, there's another flap up there in front of this impeller unit, and it can move also, and that basically sets the crimping. So again, we're not making dry hay now, so we're going to go ahead and release that. It takes a lot less fuel to run the disc bind then, move along at a pretty decent speed, and like, we don't need to crimp it. We're not drying this down, it's going to be baled wet. The other flap that Wes just moved is right up there, this guy, and so it was folded down. So that feed comes up over top of this guy, hit that flap, and straight down. And so like I said, now we're going to move the other one as well. If you're not familiar with the disc bind at all, I'll show you that as well. There are lots of people that are not from a farming background. So I call these turtle shells. There's a whole bunch here. Each one has 2 knives on it, and they all spin in opposite directions. So if I give one a spin here, the other one goes the opposite way. And they all just clear each other and don't hit. Just. It's very, very close game. And that's what cuts the feeds, these sharp blades. So here's a newer one we put in. This one's getting a little beat up. It's still okay. The odd time we hit a rock, that really does a number on them. Here I noticed there's one missing. So we're going to put a brand new one in there. And get it ready to go. And that way it just cuts nice. Always want to maintain that for noise as well. If they're bent, they tend to hit something they're not supposed to, and it wrecks stuff. This here shield you can see is beat up. It's actually on upside down. It was so beat up, it was hitting, if we hit a rock and bent it up, and it was hitting this guy as it was coming around. And so I stuck it on upside down, so it's pointing down now, and it's cutting like a charm. But I did order a new one of those as well, along with the other parts that we have coming. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Kind of unfortunate they made this skirt so wide on the side here. It don't need that, it's useless. It makes it a lot harder to get into gates, because we don't cut any farther than here, but the skirt goes a lot more. Here's what it is. So here's where that gets loosened. You can see the drawing shows the cover on the top. Here the cover's tighter to the rollers, and here it's looser. So we're going to go spin this way to make it loosened up, and allows more room for the crop to get between the roller and the shield. we're loading up hay. I got Wes to load these bales, and apparently this works. Wes and the farmer used this yesterday. But there ain't a lot of room between wagon 1 and wagon 2. I'm going to attempt to bring this home, see how it goes. There, Ainsley and I are picking up bales, and we got a baby deer and a mama deer. A little baby. Pretty unclear, sorry.
Not very clear, though.
Aww, isn't that cute? That's cute! Do you like it?
Yeah.
Beautiful.